Hey gang, let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
Drop it.
Happy snowy Wednesday from Wisconsin. My name is Jason Schultz. I'm the host of Be Loyal to Your Soil, a podcast we try to do every Wednesday. Sometimes we skip Wednesdays. Kind of depends how busy everybody is. But tonight, I'm joined by Brian Mohrfeld, the owner of Holganix, and Mike Burkhart. And they met on TikTok. And I feel like every TikTok relationship should be talked about publicly. And I'm glad that you guys are coming out with this tonight. So, Brian, why don't you kind of take over? Introduce yourself a little bit, and then we'll get into Mike, and then we'll let Mike talk. Tonight's show is all about Mike and the Travis Burkhart Foundation, but I know he means a lot to you. So, Brian, tell us where you live, kind of what you're doing, and then Travis will do the same, or seriously, Mike will do the same thing. Here we go.
I am Brian Mohrfeld from West Point, Iowa, co-owner of Holganix Midwest, and also a farmer here in Southeast Iowa. Met Mike here. Actually, it's our 1 year TikTok anniversary since we've met in person.
Can we have a moment of silence for your 1 year anniversary? Like
I was gonna send him flowers, but you know.
How do two dudes as beautiful as yourselves meet on TikTok? What's the secret to your success there, Brian?
Well, it's kind of a creepy story here, Jason.
I like it.
I showed up at his house 1 year ago and knocked on his door because I was in the area. Yep. I was within 7 miles of his house. Google his address, show up at his door. Kim answers the door. I'm like, I'm a TikToker. She's like, well, come on in. I'm like, really? You're just going to let me into your house? That's all I got to say is I'm a TikToker? So from right that point on, Mike and I have been just really good friends for the last year.
Awesome. Well, Mike, what's your side of the story? I'll be the judge. How about that? So,
well, he pretty much described it all. It was one of those things where, and we've had that happen a few times where people will show up and we do a party every summer, invite TikTok folks in. And so we're kind of used to having that, but Brian came in and I don't know, I think we spent 3 hours together and hit it off right away. And it was just one of those things where the TikTok experience has kind of grown into that to where you just develop relationships all over the United States. So it's been kind of fun thing to run with.
No, I like it. So let's dive right into the Travis Burkhart Foundation. And then if you, like I said, Mike, if you want me to share anything on the screen or put any links in the comments, I'll be sure to do that. And if you're watching tonight, again, it's episode 11, Be Loyal to Your Soil, hosted by Holganix Midwest. And tonight we're talking with Mike Burkhart. He's our guest. We're talking about the Travis Burkhart Foundation. And I'm going to put in the comments, fans, I'm going to put the link to his TikTok and to the Facebook page as well. So go ahead.
Well, so I live in Southwest Indiana, a little town called Plainville, which is 60 miles east of Evansville and 100 miles southwest of Indianapolis. So we're kind of in that corner of the state. My brother and I, we've been farming together for close to 50 years. And we decided in 2021, we decided that was our last year to farm. But what had happened was in 2008, our son Travis was involved in a serious car accident. On his way back to college, he went into a spin on the ice and ended up that we spent 5.5 months in the hospital there. And in the first 16 months, 13 of those months, one of us was living out of a hotel room. And so after the dust had settled, we'd had so much help from churches, from other people that in the community and outside the community that we decided that there was a group of us got together and decided, okay, let's see if we can pay this thing forward. And then that's where the Travis Burkhart Foundation was developed. And so we've been able to keep that going now for right down 16 years. July 13th, we're going to have a big celebration because we are approaching $500,000 of money that we've given out. We've helped families over 1,800 times. And it has, through TikTok, it has all exploded. The day of our sale, why we had close to 50 people from all over the United States that showed up here, and we did a big shrimp boil after that night here in the garage, and they was coming as far as Minnesota, Michigan, Montana, all the way from Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa. They was coming from pretty much all over the Midwest. So it ended up that whenever we did that, we developed a friendship. And what happened was there was a podcast group there out of Ames, Iowa called Farm for Profit. And those guys did a fundraiser for us and raised $46,000 at that time. And it exploded our foundation to a point of where before we was only helping in the southern half of Indiana. Now we're all over the United States helping families out.
That's amazing. It's amazing what social, you hear all the bad things about social media all the time, Mike. It's amazing what the good that, that can come of it from getting a community. I'm a tractor puller, and whenever tragedy hits the tractor pulling world, the people that rally and, to hear that the people rally around you. And that's obviously how Brian found you as well. It's good to tell that story. For those of you watching at home right now live, that is Mike's TikTok. So be sure to go and follow him. And that's so kind of what stuff are you putting on TikTok? I just started following you today, Mike. So,
well, a lot of what did in the very beginning, it was kind of instrumental in how our sale took place whenever we sold our equipment. It started out, I just started talking about Travis's situation, what we had gone through as a family. And then we kind of incorporated our farm equipment sale. And so we ended up that I'd walk through every piece of equipment and do a short TikTok explaining every piece we had for sale. And that ended up being the cheapest advertisement I had. And we had everything appraised before the sale, and everything sold 41% above appraised value. And every piece went all over the United States. We had a grain cart that ended up in the state of Washington. And so everything spread out, but through TikTok, then everything kind of exploded from that point. But then I started talking a little bit, as you can see, some of those TikToks that was in there was, we can do better. Some of the things I talked about was the realities of what happens in the farming industry today and how ugly it can get. I talked about guys going to the casket to rent a piece of property. And it happened to us. My dad passed away in 1986, and we had guys coming to the casket trying to rent the farm at that time. And I was 21 and my brother was 24. So early on, you start seeing those things. But whenever we was growing up, farmers took care of farmers, and that has switched dramatically. And I'm not saying it switched for the good, but there's a lot of reality that comes along with the competitiveness that's happened in the farming today.
Yeah, ground is everything. Farmers aren't making, or God's not making more ground, that's for sure. So,
right.
But I've heard that story as well, Mike, about literally at the funeral asking about renting ground or buying ground. That's kind of cheesy, is all I can say. That's the nicest way I can say that.
Yeah,
so
that'd be an understatement, because my mother, what she told the guy was, she said, well, these two boys have been going through this. Their dad had his first massive heart attack at the age of 36. And these boys have been going through 13 years of training. So that's what they're going to do. So I'm going to politely ask you to leave the funeral home because, number one, this is not the place to talk about that. Number two, we've already got that base covered.
Good. Good for you. Good for you. Again, thanks for joining us tonight. Episode 11 of Be Loyal to Your Soil, podcast hosted by Holganix Midwest. We do this every Wednesday night. Sometimes we skip a Wednesday. Depends on how busy everybody is. I have Brian Mohrfeld, one of the owners of Holganix, with me tonight on the top of the screen. And then Mike Burkhart of the Travis Burkhart Foundation, Travis's dad. And right now I have his TikTok up. I'm going to put your Facebook up on the screen as well. And then let's talk about some of the pictures that you guys sent me today. I can throw them up on the screen and we can talk about those a little bit too. Did you have a fundraiser recently, maybe?
I'm going to let Brian talk about that one.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, we put a side-by-side fundraiser together. When was that? Here, February 3rd.
Yep.
Is when we had it. And I think about, a month or two before that, we called Mike and said, hey, we'd like to put this fundraiser together. This is the date. And he's like, oh boy. Like, I don't know if you can put this all together, in that short amount of time. But Madison, my daughter, says, I think we can do that. No big deal. So we set the date, we put that fundraiser together. Had a great time that day. I don't know what we had, Mike, 50 side-by-sides or whatever?
I think so.
Turnout? Somewhere around 50 side-by-sides. And then at the end of the night, probably 150 people turned out for the side-by-side ride.
Was this it, the Lee County Ride for Recovery Poker Run? Is this it?
Yes.
Yep, that's it.
Cool. I just wanted to make it.
So, yeah, and then a couple of them pictures were just probably after, I don't know, 6 or 7 beers and 2 whiskeys.
Yep. That sounds about right.
That one right there's, I don't know if that was before or after. Looks like my eyes are pretty squinted. It was probably after.
I think he was in good shape there.
Yeah, I think I was in plenty good shape.
Yeah, Mike's got a big smile on his face. Mohrfeld, you look happy. I don't see anything wrong with this picture at all.
No, everything's good there. Got hot chicks in the background.
Yep, it's all good. Yeah, you do Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
Yeah.
I like that. Kendall Kirschbaum says 6 or 7 ? Hum. So somebody's calling you a liar, Mohrfeld. I'm just throwing that out there. I as the host of your podcast, I want to just say that.
It could be 6 or 7 an hour. We don't have to.
Always keep it general. Always keep it general.
No, it was just a really good day with a really good turnout from Southeast Iowa, for my friends and family and people from here, but also from the TikTokers. I mean, there was a good turnout with the TikTokers too. And I think there's a picture on there somewhere, isn't there, Mike, of we kind of just took a picture of all the TikTokers that drove and supported us also.
Yeah, I think it's probably on your page more than it is. I think it's in there somewhere, but I'd like to put a plug in there for Madison, because Madison absolutely knocked it out of the park that day. She was so organized, and she done such a great job of getting that put together that she was so focused. Man, that girl can put it together really well. So, yeah, got to put a plug in for her.
No, she does an awesome job with all the Go Grows and everything that we do with Holganix. Is pretty awesome. I'm gonna go check the Holganix page right now.
All that training came from me, right, Jason?
Yeah, Brian. She actually, every time we talk, she's like, "I would be nothing without my father." That's exactly how she starts every conversation.
Yeah, now you're
telling
right.
me everything I know. So.
But I tell you, it was a fun day because we went to 7 different pubs throughout the day. Each one of them had a different kind of a different theme, but we just had a blast. We pulled our own side by side up there, and it was just the greatest day.
One down from that right there, Jason.
This one?
One over.
These look like the Christmas party.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think. Let me check my phone. You guys keep chatting. Madison texted me something. I don't think I downloaded everything, so give me a second here, guys. Sorry about that.
But yeah, it was a good day, and he hasn't spilled the beans on this, but raised over $32,000 is what they raised that day. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's totally awesome for our foundation. It just kind of gives us a real kick in the pants and really does us a huge favor, because what happens is we spend so much time on fundraisers that sometimes we don't have the time to spend on what our mission is. And that's what, whenever somebody does this for us, we can't be more than thankful than we are to these guys, because of the fact that it lets us focus on what our mission is, which is helping families out, trying to help them stay away from some of the problems that we had come across whenever we went through it. But, we talked about TikTok a while ago. One of the things that's come out of TikTok so well is that sometimes farmers will not talk to their local farmers, their neighbors, because there may be some things that they talk about that if it gets out into public, that it works against them. Well, I get phone calls quite often of farmers just wanting to talk and wanting to try to work through some problems. And that's been the good thing that's come out of TikTok. And, they talked about, what, a week, 10 days ago, they was wanting to shut TikTok down. It's the craziest thing, because of all of the good that's come out of that far outweighs anything bad that comes out of it, just because we're able to become a huge family.
Yeah, I like how they're worried about TikTok, but everything. They know everything about us, all that we do. I always giggle when I hear that. It makes me laugh.
Yeah, they got a lot bigger problems to worry about on Capitol Hill than what little bit of TikTok causes in their troubles.
Well, there's the truth. She gets it all from her mom. Sarah Mohrfeld checking in. So Madison.
There you go.
Madison just texted me again, and I can show you the text, Brian. She said, "My dad is my world. I would be dead without him."
Thank you, Jason.
Well, I'm here for you, buddy. So.
I know that's a lie.
Yeah, I know who to suck up to. I'm not dumb. I mean, I'm not pretty, but I'm not dumb. So. I got these pictures. I'm uploading them right now, guys. So,
well, some of the things that we help with the foundation that we're very blessed with, and I told some of these stories up there that night, was through Travis's situation. He could be a lot worse than what he is, but yet we're in St. Louis a few years ago. Travis threw out first pitch at one of the baseball games there at St. Louis. And we get back to our seats, and this lady comes up and she's crying, and she said, "Do you guys remember who I am?" And I said, "No, ma'am, I don't really believe we do." And she said, "Well, I was Travis's nurse in ICU at Deaconess Hospital in Evansville."
Oh, wow.
And she said, "I was in the luxury suite on the other side of the stadium. When I heard his name," she said, "I just started screaming and crying." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "No, you don't understand." She said, "They told us that he had died."
What?
And she said, that's the last word we had about him. We had no idea that he was still alive. And for me to be in that stadium the day that, that he throws out first pitch, she said, "I can't tell you what that means to me." And she said, you come to a point in your job where you've done it for so long, you get tired and you don't feel like you're making a difference. But she said, "I can honestly say that I can do my job another 25 years. And that's just one of the many stories of things that we've had happen that's been such a blessing to us, that we had to have a lot of things happen bad to come to this point to where we felt like, okay, let's kind of move this thing forward. But it was kind of God's way of setting us straight on what we needed to do and what our plan needed to be. And basically he wanted us to take care of other people.
No, that's awesome. My father-in-law, he had a bad snowmobile accident and he had a traumatic brain injury and he was in a coma for 33 days. And the first day his eyes moved, like he even twitched an eyebrow. You would have thought we won the lottery. It was the best day of our life. And he still can't move his right arm. I'm not sure. We're not sure when he came off the snowmobile. And what stinks was he wasn't drinking. He wasn't going too fast. If anybody deserves to get wrapped around a tree that night, it was me. Because I'm going 110 mile an hour and my father-in-law was taking his time. Some of the stuff doesn't make sense. And it's weird talking about this, but I held myself pretty guilty for 4 or 5 years, because I'm the one who took him snowmobiling. You know what I mean? We were up north of Minocqua, and when I called 911, Mike, I said, order the helicopter now. And they said, "You don't know." And I said, "Order it." And because we were way up in the boonies, we actually were in Wisconsin. And I had to give them our GPS coordinates, and they brought the ambulance out to the trail. And then we followed the ambulance in on town to our snowmobiles. And they took us over into Ironwood, Michigan, and then they air flighted him into Wausau, Wisconsin. And he was in a coma for 33 days. So what you're doing, I had no idea we were getting into all this tonight. So I thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. It's an amazing story. And my father-in-law's with us today. He's functioning and living life, but he's not the same guy, obviously. But
yeah, and that's the thing that we tell families, just exactly what you said. Was that you thought you'd won the $1 million lottery. Well, that's the point that we try to tell people, is when they go through things like this and it gets you down mentally, you have to focus on the smallest thing that is a positive, or mentally it will break you down. And that's what you got to do. You got to celebrate those hard because they may be few and far between. And if you don't, by then, it'll work you over. But that's been the thing. And we've been able to go back to hospitals and talk to families and kind of work through some of that stuff. But I know exactly what you're saying on that part. And a lot of times we tell families too, we always tell them, okay, here's the deal. Your accident or your situation may sound somewhat like ours, but what I will tell you is that we will not tell you that we've walked in your shoes, but we will put our shoes on and walk alongside you and try to help you any way we can, because that's the last thing we want to see you do is go through a bunch of struggles.
Yeah, no, it's so true. So it was a car accident. How old was he when it happened?
22.
22. Just a bit like icy snow and spun out.
Yeah, went into a spin on the ice. It was we held him back home a day before, thought that it had cleared up, but he got into a patch of ice, went into a spin. He was going to school to be a teacher, football coach, and basketball coach. He wanted to be a coach. And so But what we didn't realize was that he was lifting weights about 5 days a week.
Okay.
Going into his situation, he was as strong as we'd ever seen him. And we always said that God was preparing him for the biggest battle of his life, and which is true. But Travis now goes to weightlifting competitions and wins. I mean, and these aren't Special Olympics. These are weightlifting competitions. He'll bench press 319 pounds.
Holy crap. And that's funny that you say that, Mike. My father-in-law was biking 50 miles a day on his bike. And the doc, because he was 65-ish when it happened. And they said most people his age are not in the shape he is. And the fact that he came out of it the way he did, his accident, most people die. I mean, they just flat out told us that. So the fact that he's still with us and we see him all the time. And he's my father-in-law and he's an amazing man. So I want to show there's some videos of Trav maybe doing some lifting weights and stuff on here. It looks like there is.
Yeah. And one thing that we found out too was the first year that we started, we was just going to help with traumatic brain injuries. And what we found out that Travis is only one of 8% to survive. 92% normally don't survive, just like what you just said. And so then we had to open that scope up. And what we help with today is about 53% of it is cancer related. So,
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Travis on the left.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. Yeah.
See, how tall is he?
He's 6'2".
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He whooped my ass arm wrestling.
That's awesome.
Wasn't even close.
We go to a weightlifting competition, first one he won, and the first time I get him up on the stage with his trainers, and a couple of these guys that's in those pictures are his trainers.
Okay.
And anyway, they, the first time they're like, oh, that's nice that he gets up there and he's competing, and you do 4 lifts.
Okay.
Well, by the time it was over with, he ended up winning. And by the time I got him up there the last time, they wasn't real thrilled with the fact that he won. So they wasn't as happy whenever he got done.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I'm just flipping through some of the photos. Yeah, that dude on the right has to be his coach or trainer.
No, he's not. He's actually not. No. But some of those guys that come to those, we do a weightlifting competition every year now. Anytime Fitness here locally puts that on. So it's always a good time. And, those folks got this lady right here that he's hugging right there. She was a nurse at one of the first rehab facilities, and she happened to show up, and we didn't even know. She didn't know, and we didn't know that she was coming.
Wow.
And it was the greatest thing to get her together with Travis.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Brian, so you're just scrolling TikTok and you find this Travis Burkhart Foundation, or how did you see all this? Or was it because of the podcast from Farm for Profit or what?
No, Mike always just put out some TikToks that I always just listened to, and then I just friended him on TikTok, and for probably 2 years I listened to Mike's stories on there because they're true stories.
Yep.
Everything's a true story when he's talking. He either lived it, Travis lived it, or something, and it just caught my interest.
Yep.
And then I was in Washington, Indiana at a conference, and Mike happened to put a TikTok out and said something about where he lived. So I just Googled it, and I was like 7 miles from him. So I'm like, I have to go show up there. I mean, I can't be 7 miles from this guy's house I've been creeping on TikTok for 2 years and just not show up.
Right.
So, I mean, who wouldn't just go show up?
But I know you would, Mohrfeld. I know you would. I would too. I would just go knock and say hi. And like you said, though, but you have Mike's had that's kind of normal. I mean, I had Tony Reed from Growing Corn 2020 come down to my booth at Louisville and stand next to my tractor. People lined up for an hour ahead of time to meet that guy, and they brought him shots and hats and Gleaner t-shirts, and it was just a hoot. So I mean, that to Mike's point earlier, the good that has came out of social media far outweighs the bad. And then Mike's telling the truth in his TikToks and, talking about farmers and suicide and how rough it is. And, I get it. I get it. And Mike speaks the truth. And obviously, Mohrfeld, you're super passionate about everything you do. I mean, that's why I enjoy speaking with you, because I know there's not a false bone in your body. And I think that's what probably drew you to Mike and the Travis Burkhart Foundation. It'll be my guess. So,
yeah, well, don't ask my wife that, okay?
No, that's we're not going to
to talk about Tony a minute. Like whenever the Farm for Profit guys did the podcast, like I called them. We was in the middle of it, and I said, told my wife, I said, this may be a dumb idea, but I said, through this auction, I said, how about they auction me off to go somewhere and help somebody for a week through their harvest? So I called the guys, and they said, oh, that'd be hilarious. Let's do it. Well, so it ended up that I ended up at Tony's farm for 10 days, helping him with his harvest in the fall of 21. And then I ended up in Montana and did a harvest thing up there that summer. And then this past fall, I ended up in Nebraska with Korean corn farmer Noah Hubbard and his family, helping them out. So I've been able to do that, do something different, and it's been really kind of cool for me to be able to get out in different parts of the country and see how things are done a little bit different. So, yeah, Tony's a hoot. And I can honestly say, outside of one day, Tony didn't use one cuss word around me the entire time. So if you can figure that one out, you're doing good.
No, he's a hoot. We had him on one of our tractor pulling podcasts one night, and he goes, "Can I just say what I want?" I said, "We didn't bring you on here for church service." And he goes, "Perfect." And he plays the crowd. He knows what he's doing. I'm surprised. I've always felt like my dad's 60. I'm 48, so dad's 67. I always kind of felt like farmers were like slow to Facebook and Instagram, but for whatever reason, TikTok, man. I mean, you got all these guys now hitting YouTube like Millennial Farmer and Larson Farms. It's really, I think the fact that it's so simple, you don't have to edit it, Mike. You just pick up your phone and tell us what's on your mind. And then, then the algorithm lines you up with like people. And it's pretty freaking amazing. It really is. And what it's done. And the short form video, TikTok changed all of social media. Facebook used to be a long form. Now Facebook has reels. YouTube has shorts. Instagram has reels. They came out with threads. It's really changed it. I mean, and you can just be you, and that's why everybody fell in love with Tony, because he opened up with a nice way to greet somebody unique every time. And I'm sure, again, Mike, I'm going to follow you, start watching your stuff. I got my email today, who we had on the show tonight, and I'm going to start following you. And again, if Brian Mohrfeld likes you, then I like you. And, obviously. So how much time did you say you've raised? About $500,000 over time? Is that kind of what you said earlier?
Yes. Yep. We're coming right up on that. That's the reason why in July we're going to celebrate that. We got 2 events that day. We have our own Ride for Recovery that day. It's July 13th. I believe it's Saturday. And then we have this weightlifting competition both on that same day. And then before then, on May 18th, we go to St. Louis. We're in the process right now of selling St. Louis Cardinal tickets. They play Boston Red Sox. So that's our next big fundraiser that we've got coming up. But got a phone call yesterday from a tractor group out of Muncie, Indiana, that wants to do a fundraiser for us. So we're really very fortunate that folks have just jumped in. They understand what we're trying to accomplish. And, we're just trying to help families out. So, and that's about the best we can do. And just been blessed with, and we got to meet some really cool people along the way. Travis has made a friendship with Tim Tebow's mother.
Oh, cool.
Way back when. Now, this young man right here in this picture, he's from our area, and he had a 4-wheeler accident a year and a half ago. And we spent a lot of time with his family, helping them walk through, and he's made a miraculous recovery. This young man is just been a true blessing to watch him. And he's kind of like Travis. He just said, I'm not going to lose, and I refuse to lose. And he just kept pushing. So real cool family.
Before I forget, and we'll talk off air, but I work for USA Mortgage. They're based out of St. Louis. Okay. And I have a ton of St. Louis connections with the Cardinals. So we have to chat, because I got some guys on the inside there. So make sure we chat about that, because yep. I'll help you connect you with and some big social media influencers as well. That, have a good following, in a different space that could help this fundraiser. So,
well, we met with Zach from Millennial Farmer
Yep.
last summer. There was a tornado deal that went through our area over in Illinois. So we went over there with Farm Rescue to help, and Zach was there that day. And I told Zach, I said, what you guys have accomplished, you, Larson Farms, Shark Farmer, you guys started all that process.
Yep.
And it's kind of like Max Armstrong on steroids. Or
It is.
Samuelson. I said, because you guys have took that and run with it, and the ability that you've had to create an outside income for your farm is phenomenal. What you're doing, I said, I worked a lot of wintertime jobs, and I'll guarantee you I never had one as easy as what you guys are doing.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and you can just be yourself, and that's, I think, honestly, the genuineness of it all, Mike, I think is really what draws people to social media. To all the people that you mentioned, I was on the Shark Farmer podcast once, and then obviously Tony's been on my tractor pulling podcast before. It's been great. It's been great. So who do you got here? Who are all these people? Do you recognize everybody in this picture, Mike?
The one to my right is my youngest son, and that's his wife. And the gentleman on my far right, his name is Alex, and he does a lot of our print work.
Okay.
And he's just a totally cool kid that just donates a bunch of time and effort into our foundation.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There it is on the big board.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yep. Travis has got to go down, throw first pitch out, I don't know, a couple times. So
that's where the nurse when she said his name, she was at the game just by chance.
Yep. Totally by chance. Yep.
That is crazy.
It's kind of a crazy thing, but that's why I say, whenever Travis connected with Tim Tebow's mom, we was in Chicago, and he was doing, we lived in Chicago for 2 months up there, doing therapy up there. And the therapist called us in one day, and she said, you guys got to come back here. Said Travis is doing Tebow. And we thought he was having some kind of a seizure. We didn't know what she was talking about. This was 2009. And Tim would have went through 2007 and 8 right in there. And so we go back there, and he's down on one knee, and we're looking at her like, we don't understand. Well, we didn't know it, but Travis had started a pen pal with Tim's mom, and ended up that Travis and Tim developed a friendship. And when Tim was playing baseball, we followed him that whole 2 summers in a couple different places scattered out in the United States. But we've been to his golf scramble and got to meet some pretty impressive people. Some athletes that we would have never met. There's no way that the way it happened that we would have ever met anybody like them before.
No, that's amazing. So a lot of people are going to watch this tonight, and they're going to catch it later in the week. What do you need? I mean, just obviously donations, right? You can just go right to the website and donate. What are some other things that people, because I'm a good Catholic, or I'm not a good Catholic. My wife's a good Catholic, and she makes me go to church every Sunday. And our priest always talks about time, talent, and treasure, right? Treasure is a no-brainer. How about from the time and talent from people? What are some of the things that the Travis Burkhart Foundation is looking for, Mike?
Okay, so we have people that will give money monthly.
Okay,
it's a withdrawal maybe out of their account monthly. We got people that will do sponsorship. They'll just do a flat donation. There's a lot of different ways, and all you got to do is go to our website, and up on the right-hand corner, there's a tab up there that you can hit, and it will walk you through exactly where it says how we can help you or how you can help us. Hit one of those, and it'll give you that whole explanation of things that you can help with. But we give iPads to autistic kids. We've been able to give out, I think, 24 iPads. Usually whenever somebody goes through a stroke or an autistic kid, communication device, and an iPad is a great way for that. But we got people that comes out and works at our events. There's a whole realm of different ways that folks just jump in and help us.
That's amazing. I'm on the website right now. So I clicked on how can we help you and how can you help us? And then here's a nice link to our story. I like that a lot. Yeah. So it's kind of neat to see all this stuff.
And we've started making the push now to where we're getting into the corporate world.
Yep.
2 years ago, we went down for TopCon. We do some public speaking, some inspirational speaking on occasions. And then what we'll do now is, like 2 weeks ago, I went into one ag manufacturer and give them what our presentation was of what we do, why we do it. And They're wanting to be a sponsor. So now we're at a point now to where that's where we're headed, is toward corporate sponsorship to help us along the way. And we're willing to travel just about anywhere and do a presentation and ask for help in any way we can.
No, that's awesome. I'm on the Facebook page right now, and everybody, this is in the link. It's super easy to find as well. Travis Burkhart Foundation. But this is what's coming up on May 18th. Is your the deal in St. Louis? So at the game.
Yep. And this will be the first time that we've been actually on the lower level.
Okay.
We're in section 161 through 166, I believe. The tickets, I looked them up today. They're selling for $90, and we're selling them for $60.
Awesome. And fans, I'm putting that in the link right now for you. But again, you can find all of this on the Facebook page as well, or the website, excuse me. No, I think I found this off. Yeah, no, I found this off Facebook. Yeah, there it is. I found this off Facebook right here. The March 2nd post, but it's now in the comments as well. No, this is super cool. Yeah, you just don't know how it can throw you a curveball, Mike, and I'm not trying to make a pun off of baseball, and you just rally and go. Some people give up, and you said, all right, this is what you want me to do. Let's go. So
yeah, I mean,
that could be hard.
There's a lot of times that we go into, we get those phone calls, and some of them turn into pretty lengthy conversations about, things that are happening in people's lives. And, sometimes there's things that we have no control over, and sometimes it takes a higher power. So, with Brian and what those guys have done for us has been really beneficial. But a few weeks ago, they did a meeting down here in our area. I've looked at their stuff now for a year and impressed with what they're doing. So trying to set those guys up to where they can kind of move their business forward. But if it's in a way that helps farmers out to where they can make more money, hey, let's turn it loose.
Yep.
Yeah, Jason, I'll kind of explain the program that we're doing with Mike on TikTok. So Mike has kind of set me up with like 4 really good farmers around the country. I guess there's one in Indiana, one in Nebraska, one in Missouri, and then hopefully one in Iowa. We haven't got our Iowa one nailed down yet. It's kind of been a pain in our butt.
To find a good farmer in Iowa, that's what you're looking for?
Oh, no, I guess he's in Illinois, isn't he? I'm talking about Tony. Yeah.
You got one in Nebraska, too. Don't forget about one in Nebraska.
Well, yeah, I got Tony's cell phone number. If we could have everybody text him right now that's watching if you want to do that.
Yeah, we all have Tony's cell phone number.
Well, but I'm saying we have it on the screen, but not everybody watching has Tony's cell phone number.
Oh, okay.
I've done that to people before.
So is what we're putting in, it's kind of like the Go Grow program.
Yeah.
So Mike basically picked these farmers. We're putting the product out there. We're going to go to these farmers throughout the season, do the test live. We're going to do TikTok lives right there, show our results, show what our product is doing. And then any sales through all of this TikTok that Mike's putting together, we're going to donate back to the foundation.
Awesome.
So,
and we told all of them to be brutally honest. If it works, be honest about it. If it doesn't work, be honest about it. And because that's what I told him. I said, I won't push something on you. There's nothing worse to me than a used car salesman that tries to push you into something you don't need. And, if these guys have got a product that makes money, hey, that's a good deal.
Yeah, I'm not a farmer, Mike. My dad is. I've never even changed the oil in my pulling tractor. I pay somebody to do it for me. I'm a mortgage lender, and I readily admit that. And I don't know. I've learned more about NP and K and phosphorus and things that I never thought in my life. And I've known Holganix and the team now for about a year now with the Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling Association. And this is our 11th podcast. And to have agronomists on here, but actually to have actual customers, Mike, that's where I've heard the stories. I've heard the testimonials. I've seen the pictures. Heck, I'm the one putting them on the screen. You know what I mean? It doesn't lie. And that's what I love about Mohrfeld. He's like, you just be honest. I mean,
yeah.
I know what it's like to be. I'm in sales. I walk in real estate offices every day and say, "Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor. Do you have anybody that needs help getting a mortgage?" And I know what it's like to be that guy. That sales guy walking on the farm, and they get hit every day. But for these guys to come through with this, it's been fun doing this because I know it works. And friends of mine use it. They farm with it and they've seen results. And that's where, and Mohrfeld again, he's like, whatever, let's go. I mean, how can you not embrace that, Burkhart? How can you not embrace that?
And that's what I said too. Tony goes, no, I will tell the truth no matter what I see. And I go, yeah, we are that confident.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're counting on, Reed. So
crazy. You guys are crazy. Like, yeah. But we did with Extreme Ag, we did a Extreme Ag live, and my agronomist Mike, and I think Mike was on here one other episode.
Yeah, we've had Mike on 4 or 5 times. He's awesome.
Yeah, and they were going to do this Extreme Ag live with the results, and I'm looking at Mike, and Mike goes, "No, we're good. We win every time." I'm like, "All right." So that's the program that Mike Burkhart's helping us put together here is going to be a lot of that live right there, see the results, and just show you. We're not trying to hide anything.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, because I mean, I like I said, I've done the research on it for a year, and I've had people approach me before, and if it wasn't a product that I wouldn't, if it wasn't something I believed in, I wasn't gonna push it. And so that's where this product here, I think, is something that guys need to take a hard look at it. Especially the way the money is right now, and as tight as it is, it could get interesting here. I'm not going to say we're going to revisit the 80s. Been there, done that, and the 80s stunk. It was not fun. So
yeah, the 80s cost my parents a marriage and a farm. So I don't want to see that happen to anybody. So I lost. My mom's been great, but I lost my dad because, we moved to Wisconsin and Dad still lived in Iowa. So it sucked. So
yeah, it's a tough thing. And farming in itself is tough. And so if there's something that you can, benefit from it, why not?
Yeah.
So one thing that you might be interested in is, I believe the first tractor pulling sled was built right here in this town in a small shop in the early 70s.
Who's that?
It would have been, do you remember a name by the name of Bad Cat Jones? So the sled itself, my dad actually rode that sled for several years. And that was built here at Plainville Machine and Tool back in the 70s. And it would have been one of the first ones. And that Bad Cat was one of the first ones to build a modified tractor here in that shop also. He had it built right there. So we kind of had that history because, like I said, we followed that sled around everywhere, and we actually pulled, but not to the extent that you guys are doing. We'd pull down the track, but we'd drop weights on it, unhook it from a piece of equipment, pull it down the track, and say a prayer before you started pulling. Say, "Oh, please get me to the end, but don't kill it."
No, but that's how it started, and that's what makes it great. No, I pulled in Evansville, Indiana, and I stuck a lifter, and it cost a lot of money. I'm not going to get into that right now. But we're talking charity for something more important than my disease, which is tractor pulling. But Indiana is a great state for pulling, a great state for pulling. So it's neat to hear that. I love old stories like that, Mike. The first sleds and different things like that. I'm going to find out. I'm going to do a post tonight about Bad Cat Jones. It was a modified.
Yes, it was a modified.
Okay.
Yep.
That's
and
awesome.
Dad would have been riding it back whenever it was going down the track 3 miles an hour, and then next thing you know, he's super stoked about being able to take it down the track and ride it at that point, No,
that's fun. That is fun. Mohrfeld, did we hit everything we wanted tonight? This is one of our longest podcasts. I'm kind of proud of us, Brian, and I think it's been halfway entertaining and educational at the same time. With you and me on here, I was a little worried. You know what I meant? So.
Yeah, I was not worried at all because I know how Mike can talk, and you'll get to know that. Like, he's got some long-winded stories, so I wasn't worried about. Before the podcast, he was like, "Hey, what are we going to talk about?" I said, "Mike, don't worry about it. You're going to be good."
Yeah. I've never scripted anything in my life. Just give me some talking points and away we go. So.
Yeah, I've done a couple of these. I did one with Rob Sharkey.
Yeah. Well, he's a way bigger deal than we are. This will be on iTunes and Spotify, but we're no shark farmer. So.
Yeah, but the one that we did was shortly after their son's situation, and it was a tough podcast because I didn't know exactly how deep I could dive into Travis's story. Yep. We would talk for about 10 minutes and then we'd all cry together for about 10 minutes. So it was a tough one, but it was a good one to do too.
No, that's some good therapy. I don't want to cry tonight though, Mike. I just want a full disclosure. So I got to meet with the client here in about 15 minutes. So
okay.
they'll be like, "Why is my mortgage lender crying at 7 o'clock at night? This is bad. I don't understand."
I understand. I can tell you some of those stories too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can. So, yeah, I want to wrap this up if you guys don't mind, and I want to talk off air for a few minutes. But, Mike, thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you for answering the door when Mohrfeld opened and said trick or treat. A lot of people might not have opened the door when they saw his big ugly ass outside. But I think for all in all, I think he's a good dude. And it's amazing you guys raised $32,000 on that ride. And that's, Brian, that's what's great when people rally and get together and, you know, the purse strings kind of open, if you know what I don't know how else to say it, but people are generous. And that's, Mike, you've seen it. You know what I mean? You've seen it and it's helped other people. And that's really what makes you feel good about life when you're doing something. Because we're so busy all the time trying to make money. I'm super, super guilty of that. But it's been fun to hear your story tonight, Mike, and to see what you're doing and how you're impacting people's lives, because I've experienced it. I mean, with my father-in-law, he was my everything. He still is. You know, I worked for him. I was running his, you know, I was working for him at the creamery, and my life changed that day. I went from here to holy crap, I'm in charge. And that was a big step. It was a big step. So
well, I really appreciate the opportunity. Always enjoy doing these. So, and you know, the relationship and the friendship that we've developed with Brian and his family, it's unheard of. It's a good deal.
Well, that'll continue to happen. And it's neat that you came over from Indiana to Iowa. The Midwest is great. Just good old folks. That's where I live. You know, we travel all over the country doing tractor pulling stuff, but you just don't find any nicer people here in the Midwest. And I know we got people watching in Florida tonight. I love you Floridians too. I'm just jealous that there's not snow on the ground down there. So it's all good. It's all good. So
yeah, we are actually having our second annual on, I think it's February 1st.
Okay.
So
awesome.
we're gonna try it again, and we're gonna try to make it bigger and better. Of course.
Well, I'll get out ahead of that next year, Brian, and we'll help you advertise it on Beer Money and some of our other platforms we use. So that'll be great.
We'll be advertising it starting way earlier than 3 weeks. Hey, Mike, we're having a ride.
Hey, we done good.
But they pulled together pretty good. But then throughout the season, you know, as we get the TikTok, you know, get that fundraising all going, that'll be really good too, because that's going to be a way to get out to thousands of farmers. So.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us on episode 11 of Be Loyal to Your Soil podcast, hosted by Holganix Midwest. Again, Mike Burkhart, Travis Burkhart Foundation. It's easy. Just go to Google. Everybody goes to Google, type in Travis Burkhart Foundation, any information you want. They have their event coming up in St. Louis on May 18th. And then again, shout out to Holganix and the team there for the big UTV ride that raised $32,000. So you guys have a good night, okay? Thanks for watching, everybody.
As always, thank you, Jason.
Hey, gang, let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
Drop it.